Hey, what's up? Travel Chronicles chapter 63, and kind of recapping the weekend here. I didn't get a chance to do it this morning because it was raining on the way, and anytime it's raining there's a lot of noise, so I just skipped it. But coming out after the weekend, had the last regular season cross country race for essentially Elijah's career and high school career. Don't know if he'll run in college. Don't know what he wants to do on that front yet. That's a whole nother story. But had the last race, and I had talked about kind of what I wanted for him. Not to go out, not to get hurt. To be able to finish the season in the races that matter, and but have a good race. And he was able to go out and run the best race that he's ever run. So, and had family there, had his aunts and uncles and some of his little cousins, and everybody got to be able to see him run. So it was a great race. There was a lot of good energy there, and he was able to put up his best time, 16:50. And it's possible he could go out next weekend or maybe even at the regional if they make it. I say if they make it. I mean, they should, but anything can happen across country. I've said it before, anything can happen, and you never know what can happen on any given race. I think there's a certain ceiling for kids. If you haven't run above a certain number, you're not going to be able to run necessarily a minute and a half faster in a race if you've never made it that point. By the time you get to regional, you may be able to run 15, 20 seconds faster, but a minute 15, that's not likely, given what you've done in the past. And there's some good kids coming. There's some good teams coming. There's one really good state ranked team. I did not look at the state rankings yet. I should have looked, but I may do that tonight, just to see if we've maybe peaked up there. But like I said, he got second in the race, and funny story about that. He was coming through that first. I don't even know if it's a half mile by that point. It might be like a quarter of a mile. Maybe it's a third. I think it's more than a quarter. But he was coming through there, and he was probably sixth or seventh. And then by the time they were going up the hill into the woods, he was either in second or third or fourth, maybe somewhere in that range. And he was just running there, staying that pace. I think he went out, it was like a 5:10, 5:13 first mile. Pretty fast. That's about 15:30 pace for 3 miles if you're able to maintain it. But he was coming through on the second mile. I forget what the time was. It was around 11 though. Maybe a little bit less than 11 right then. But he was able to finish the last mile, I think, in around 5:50. So, maybe ran the last 2 miles in 5:50. Still good. I mean, really good. Anytime you get under 17, that's an impressive time. Regardless of the course. And it's a pretty fast course because it's really flat the first mile. Second mile's got a hill in it. You're running through the woods, and then you've got a little bit of a downhill at the end to kind of propel you into that last mile. And the last mile is all pretty well flat, or maybe a slight downhill. There's like one little jump up where it's like literally a 5 or 6 foot climb, and then you're back to a downhill, maybe up a little bit around the baseball field, and then back to the finish, which is either a little bit of a downgrade and then flat, really perfectly flat, like the last 200 meters. So there's some bends in it, but other than that, it's pretty straight. And he's run well here before. I think last year the last race was either like a 16:51 or 16:52. So he was able to PR by a second or two, and that's great. That's a good feeling that he was able to PR this year. establish his best ever time, at the end of his senior year. And that's kind of what you're going for. That's what you're building for. And, had he not had, the knee issues, had COVID not been there during the summer, where they've been able to get their normal training in without issues, how much of a difference would that have made? But at the end of the day, he's worked really hard. I am proud of him, super proud of him for, the way that he's stuck with it, the way that he's been able to, get these practices and get these runs in, and not just this year. The whole time. This is 6 years worth of work that have been built into this, this final race. And I hope he is able to appreciate it. Dina did go out and get him a cookie cake for senior day, so I think it was a little surprise for him. I think he's feeling pretty good about that. Like I said, his family came in, watched him run. So, that was pretty exciting. What else? Him and his mom had a real good moment after the end of the race. It was really emotional. She was emotional all day. She got up at 4:30 in the morning, just, nervous herself, emotional, just, feeling, what the day was. I tried to tell him, just kind of be in that moment a little bit and, just take everything in and enjoy it and, appreciate it for what it is. And I hope he did that. And I'll talk with him again, when he goes into these races now, because this whole season has been, this may be your last race. This may be your last race. And now it's down to, hey, if you don't perform well, this is your last race. That's what each race now has the potential to be. And other kids still run, but you're done. And some things that I did see where they changed some things for the regional, for the state, which will make it more difficult in my mind, by a good bit. They're going to do, if the starting line is more than 150 kids, Ohio has not allowed that all season. So at this point, when you get to the regional, usually there's about 179, 180 kids run. And what they've done in these other races where we've run with a lot of kids is they've had flights, right? So you would run boys and girls, boys then girls of a team. That would be flight 1. Then you run boys and girls of a team in flight 2, boys and girls of a team in flight 3. And the only one where they didn't do that was at the OVACs, where they ran boys of one state, boys of another state, then girls of one state, girls of another state, and then they went to the junior high races. So all the boys of one state ran together, all the boys of another state ran together. And then at the end you combine them all. But they wanted to keep the competitors as close to the same start time as possible so that they could have the same conditions. Because, anybody that's run will tell you conditions make a huge difference. 10 degrees in air temperatures is huge. It's massive, and if you're looking at, well, would you rather run in, dewy or wet grass with 10 degrees colder air? I would take the colder air, because even at, you're looking to run at 9 in the morning, 9 o'clock versus 10 o'clock in the morning, the grass isn't going to be dry. So, there's not really much of a benefit to running later, an hour later or 45 minutes later, as far as ground conditions are concerned. Whereas there could be, 2 or 3 degrees difference in air temperature in 45 minutes. Especially if the sun happens to come out. Now, normally this time of year, it's pretty cloudy, dreary conditions, maybe even rainy. But OVACs is actually really nice. So, in my mind, it made a difference. But you get to your regional, you're going to want to be in that first group. So, how are they going to divide it up? Is it going to be, the top 10 teams based on time, based on rank, run in the first group, and then the second group is going to be the other teams plus half the field, or I don't know. It could be a real competitive disadvantage. It'll be good that there'll be less kids out there, less traffic, and you can go out there and run your race, and that'll benefit some people. But if you go out there and run with lesser competition and you're just trying to stay in front of a guy who's not that good, or a team that's not that good, then you could lose out on a shot to go to states, because you're modeling yourself off of the wrong competition. Or do they divide the field evenly? Do they go, all right, this team had the best time, you go this one, you're the second best, you go here, third here, fourth here, and just kind of back and forth, so that they're divided up that way. Kind of guarantee, the top three teams probably from both sides are going to make it, and then the fourth team is going to be a battle between those two fourth place teams of who makes it to state. That's probably more fair, but that'll spread the kids out a little bit more, I would think. Make the running a little bit more fair, because if you send all the good teams out in the first group, then it's still going to be a pack in fast times, and then if you send the second group out where they're all grouped together, then it'll be a pack a little bit further back time wise, but they'd all be running together, and I don't know if that's good, but we'll see what they do. I think they've asked the state for an exemption. They've already moved Division 3s to a different day at the regional and state, so they'll run on the Friday, which is inconvenient for us because our girls are Division 3, but the boys are Division 2. So, coach, bus, everybody's going to have to make 2 trips. It'll be a faster day for us on Saturday, I guess, but now you're going to lose some support, because you're not going to have the parents from the girls hang over and watch the boys run, or vice versa. You want to have the boy parents there to watch the girls run. But overall, really, really happy. I think he came out of it okay. He's not hurt or anything. So now just get ready to run again at the districts. Faith's back to playing volleyball, so fall sports are back on, and they did win their sectional game. So they didn't play for 2 weeks, come back in, they won a sectional game. We got a new coach. Faith actually didn't play in the game at all, so their next game they're going against the number 1 seed in the section, or really in the district. It's the number 1 seed, and it's an hour and a half away on a weeknight. So there's a good possibility I probably won't go to that game. Not because I don't want to, but it's like this stretch for me, cross country season, and with her playing high school volleyball now, even with the last 2 weeks off, September was brutal. It was pretty much something 4 nights a week, 4 days a week. So, and now the meets are at least an hour away. So you got 2 hours of driving on a Saturday, and Saturday was rough because it was cross country in the morning, then volleyball, and then I wanted to come back home and watch CRL. Got home to watch that, then mowed grass. Got interrupted a little bit actually because we're having computer issues, and it's like, oh, that's what I want to do right this second, is try to figure out how to work this computer. It's like, I need like a little break, like last week was a little rough because we had the trial, so we had people, had the plan, you're running something for the first time ever, no idea how it's going to go, so that was rough. And then you got 2 events on Saturday. And it's like, oh, I want these pictures off here right now. It's like, you know what? Can I have a break? Because I want to do something where I sit and watch something on my butt for a couple hours. Then I went for a 4-mile run. Then I mowed grass. And then, did I do the ab workout? I think I still did the ab workout. I think Friday was an off day. So Saturday, did abs. Sunday, did abs. So I didn't do much else. I mowed grass out of Mom, just a little patch. Shot basketball with Faith because we're getting ready for basketball season. She ain't going to play volleyball. I might as well start getting ready for basketball. And, she had 2 weeks off, so if tomorrow's her last game, which I'm saying it probably is going to be, but barring a miracle, right? And who knows? Maybe their team gets COVID or something, or coach, and they're not able to play, and they have to forfeit. Which that would be all right, because then you have to make that drive. But that would be horrible. I don't want anybody to get COVID. I don't want that. Even though the whole thing's kind of a farce anyway. It's ridiculous. I'll probably talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but just keeping it on the high school sports front. So volleyball may be done tomorrow. And that's new coach. Look, I completely understand not wanting to, try to figure out who can play where and what, and who you can trust and who you can't trust. It's like, look, you played varsity this year, go ahead. It's up to you whether we make it or not at this point. Rather than trying to figure out if a freshman can play now or not at the varsity level. So, I understand that completely. Probably why I'm not going to make an hour-and-a-half trip, spend 3 hours in a car, watch a volleyball game where my daughter's probably not going to play, and they're probably going to lose in straight sets to get home at 9 o'clock at night during the week. But, all right, that's all I got for right now. We'll talk about football and 1960s coaching next time, because Martins Ferry lost their playoff football game, so now they're done. And it's, if you want your boy to play football or basketball like it's the 1960s, then send him to Martins Ferry. But if you want to play like a modern game where you throw the football, you have a passing game, or you shoot threes in basketball, then absolutely do not send him. Right? I mean, I'll talk about that next time though, because that was ridiculous. Even though it was an 8-9 game, right? It's supposed to be a close game. You shouldn't lose by 2 touchdowns at home. There's something wrong there. But all right, we'll see you later. Be careful. Stay COVID free.